Let's talk about Dame Lillard and the Portland Trail Blazers. You know where I was going with that. Because here's the thing. Apparently the fans feel like he's been sending mixed signals to them. I want to leave. I want to stay. I want to stay. I want to stay. Nope, I'm requesting a trade. And now they're not too happy about it.
And I think that's the thing. Like he's wondering why fans have turned against him a little bit in Portland.
Sent out a tweet.
Yeah, he's been waffling a little bit. Fans don't like waffling. We want you to take a stance, but we want you to stay with that stance, right? Well, Damian Lillard formally requesting a trade over the weekend, and it sounds like he would love to join up with Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat, who won the Eastern Conference last season. That's changed the odds a little bit. We'll get into that a little bit later with Sportsline's Tim Doyle. But take a look at this. They would be adding an All-NBA player after going to the finals. Only 3 other teams have done that over the last 40 years. Most notably, the Warriors in 2016 when they brought in Kevin Durant and then won a pair of titles. They're the only team of these 3 to win it all the following season. For more on the ongoing situation, we bring in our NBA insider, Bill Reiter. Bill, it seems like there's something new every day with Dame, but the bottom line is he's still a Blazer. What is the absolute latest?
You guys hit on the key reality here. This is a breakup. It is not going to be a smooth one. We're starting to see the reporting that comes out leaking in each direction. Who's to blame? Damian Lillard's going to be traded, as I understand it. He's going to be moved, but Joe Cronin, who's the general manager in Portland, has made it clear, and he's made it clear publicly to put pressure, I think, on Damian Lillard, that they are going to seek the best trade that they can. They're not going to allow Damian Lillard to hijack the process. He does not have a no-trade clause the way that Bradley Beal did, which really allowed him to dictate where he was going to go. And that means that if Damian Lillard is going to want to go to the Miami Heat, if he wants to force the issue, he'll have to do just that, force it, and the fans will just be at the very beginning now of their frustration. So this, guys, is as much about politics and I think controlling the narrative as it is about getting business done in the NBA in terms of where he's going to go and who, whether it's Lillard or the Trailblazers, are going to get what they want in this trade.
And we're going to talk about the odds to win it all in just a little bit with Tim Doyle. The Heat, though, 11-1 now to win it all. Their odds are getting shorter because of this news. But what, in your mind, are the Blazers going to want from Miami to make this happen?
Well, the price has varied depending on who has the leverage over the last few years. I mean, we saw Rudy Gobert go, I can't even talk about this, Chris, with a straight face, for just a bevy of picks. And we saw, Bradley Beal's price be markedly lower. As I understand it, what Portland wants are draft picks, draft swaps. We're talking first-round draft picks, and an all-star level player and or a young player who can grow into that kind of asset. Tyler Hero, a couple first-round picks, a couple pick swaps, is a fine price if Lillard has some say or some leverage to force his way to Miami, but certainly Portland would like more. Philly has an offer they can put together, especially if Tyrese Maxey was a part of that equation that could be enticing. Other teams could be involved, so it's really going to depend on who blinks first, Joe Cronin, the GM, or Damian Lillard, the superstar who wants out.
You mentioned a big trade that happened last season, Rudy Gobert going to the Minnesota Timberwolves. They were expecting that to put them at least in maybe home court advantage territory, maybe win a series or two in the Western Conference playoffs. That did not happen, but they do have pieces that they like. And today, according to multiple reports, they've agreed on a 5-year max extension with Anthony Edwards, who was taken number 1 in the 2020 NBA draft. Where does that put them as far as free agency goes this offseason? Is this really the only move they have left to make?
It really is. Minnesota, and you and I are both from Iowa, so I think we probably share some sympathy for our neighbors from the north. Minnesota's been horribly run. I mean, terribly run, that front office, for a long time. They have not conducted their operations particularly impressively, but Anthony Edwards was a bright spot, not just taking him number 1 overall a few years ago, but doing the obvious here. You extend him, you give him the max deal, you understand that he is your future. Now, Karl Anthony Towns almost certainly should have been traded a year ago. Certainly folks around the NBA knew that it was time for a parting of ways in Minnesota. Minnesota waited. I would imagine, Chris, at some point, Cat will be moved this offseason or maybe toward the NBA trade deadline. They are going to do what they can to rebuild around Anthony Edwards. They understand that he is a potential superstar, was just an all-star. He's obviously an incredible scorer, and they believe in that front office. And really around the NBA, he can be a leader and a winner and bring that level of excellence when it matters most. So this is an easy one. The hard work is building a winner around this young star.
Just cannot get that next step. They can get into the postseason, but they haven't been able to do anything in the postseason for what seems like a generation or so since Kevin Garnett. NBA free agency well underway now. We're through the first weekend of it. Which team do you think improved the most in the first weekend of free agency?
Well, this one's a little controversial. I know that we have colleagues here at CBS Sports and CBSSports.com that are on both sides of the fences, and this is true around the NBA. I love the business the Lakers have done, and I think Rob Pelinka has been extremely impressive going back to the trade deadline when he was able to start making decisions instead of LeBron James. Now, bringing back Austin Reeves may not be the sexiest thing on the face of the earth, but they got an incredible deal for him. He was a restricted free agent. D'Angelo Russell's a bit of a risk, but it's only a 2-year deal. Russell has a player option, short-term window. They may have overpaid a little bit for Rui Hachimura, but I think Gabe Vincent's a really nice piece, and you've got guys like Jackson Hayes and Cam Reddish where there's some ceiling there. This is a team, an organization that believes they're operating under a 1 or 2 year window. That's the window of LeBron James, where he's at age-wise in his contract for another year. I love what they did. They had the 4th best record in the NBA since the trade deadline, the best in the Western Conference. It's a very restrictive reality now because of the new CBA. This is very impressive business, and this is a team I think that can compete.
Okay, so like what the Lakers done, the Suns have also done some big things as well. But how about a team that maybe still needs to make a little bit of noise? Maybe the fans of this team are disappointed in how things have gone so far. Who would that be?
Yeah, I think it's the Philadelphia 76ers, and I recognize that some of that is because they did not anticipate nor want James Harden to opt into that final year of his deal, but that's part of the deal. You have to see it come, and you have to make the proper moves once that happens. Harden's going to be moved, but like in Portland, Chris, we've got a stalemate here. Things between Daryl Morey and James Harden, as I understand it, they were fast friends, are not good. They are not talking. They're not particularly happy with each other, and so this is going to be a slow process where Harden wants to go will be at odds potentially with where the Sixers want to send him. They've got to move Harden on and get the right return, the return you can get now, so that we're not talking about Joel Embiid being a player at the trade deadline or next summer who's trying to force his way somewhere else.
A man who began his career with the 76ers is now arguably the top-ranked free agent still available. That's Christian Wood. What's the latest on him?
The fact that he's the top-rated free agent tells you, Chris, mercifully, this free agency period has gone really, really quickly. The problem is for him, and really every name that you see there on the screen, is that most of these teams have used up a lot of their cap space. There's just not much left. San Antonio's got some money, but we know they're going to build around Victor Wembanyama. They don't need to spend all of it this year. So he's got to figure out if he wants to find a team that has the mid-level exception and just accept that that's where he's at, or, and I think this is the direction he's leaning as I understand it, you take a big pay cut, you take a 1 or 2 year deal, and you go to a team where you can showcase your skills, play for a winner, and strive for a big contract next year. The market for Christian Wood is just low. That's a team like the Miami Heat. They could certainly use him. Maybe the Lakers, though a veteran minimum would certainly be a come down in terms of what he thought he was going to be able to make this free agency. But those are the kind of situations we're looking at for Christian Wood. I think a contender, they can pay him something on a short deal. He'll try to get paid next year.
Obviously, the Suns' biggest move this offseason was the adding of Bradley Beal, but they also added some depth as well in Eric Gordon. But you like what the Lakers have done more than the Suns. Now, as it pertains to Gordon, what kind of role do they expect him to play this season?
I do. Look, the Suns are interesting, and I honestly, it's a mystery to me how this is going to work because they're so talented their first 4, and then after that, they're dealing literally with all guys on the minimum. The Lakers had more flexibility. Eric Gordon's going to be, I would presume, their 5th starter. I mean, my understanding is that he's going to start, and you're right, they've done a nice job with minimum contracts. They were able to offer. Gordon's a guy who has a history of success. We know he can play at a high level. He's well respected. I think they have filled out this roster very impressively, given the restrictions they put themselves under when they brought in Bradley Beal with the new rules in the CBA. And Eric Gordon is an absolute home run. I mean, it is a 10 out of 10, given the fact they could not pay anyone any money after those 4 guys, the big names who are under contract.
All right, one more, and this is kind of an interesting situation off the court. Embattled Hornets forward Miles Bridges signed a nearly $8 million qualifying offer. He was hoping for a lot more than that, but we know what happened with him. Where do things stand after missing all of last season and pleading no contest to that domestic violence charge?
Yeah, it's exactly as it seems. So he has signed this deal for just under $8 million for Charlotte. He had a 30-game suspension. Now, the NBA office, the commissioner's office, made the decision that 20 of those games had been served last year because he missed that entire season. So he'll miss 10 games. He's coming back at a cut rate price for Charlotte if you want to get down to the basketball side of this. And he is going to look to show that he can be productive, that he belongs on an NBA team. He's going to try, right or wrong, to put his past behind him. And the expectation is that next year, Chris, he'll get a massive contract offer if he plays well and stays out of trouble, because this was a guy, before the incident you noted, was in line for a $100 million contract.
All right, that's Bill Reiter, our NBA insider here. The day before the 4th of July, free agency really churning now, and Summer League is on the way. It begins today in Sacramento and Salt Lake City. Those are smaller summer leagues. The main one, the one that most of us know in Vegas, will begin on Friday. And, of course, the agreed upon deals that we've already seen become official later on this week on Thursday.